Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Mehmet.
Joe.
And we are the UFO Bros. And we're here live from the facility with a really special guest tonight. Our friend AJ, all the way on the East Coast, on the other side of the world, it seems, is joining us tonight because I think he's got some stuff to talk about in regard to Roswell. And I know that we're kind of like Roswell fanatics, so I'm excited to hear what he's got to say. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. How you doing?
All right.
Good to be with the UFO Bros. Pretty exciting.
We're excited, man. Why don't you go ahead and take like a few seconds? We've got 45 minutes here. Tell people about what maybe got you into this. How long you've been into, let's say, ufology or things concerning UFOs and aliens, and maybe if you've had any experiences yourself, you could share that too. So I'm just gonna...
Sure. Well, it's kind of like what you guys said before. When I was a little kid, I did a book report on UFOs as well. And I was just, always fascinated with space and just extraterrestrial life. And, I've probably been doing independent research for like 10 years now, reading and just trying to just get my hands on anything and everything I possibly can. I just basically question everything. So when I hear something or I read something that I think is extremely interesting and it could be possible, I just won't take one researcher's word for it, even if it's a researcher that I'm heavily into and that I feel a vibe with. I will cross-reference and just, do what I think, needs to be done. Because obviously, as you guys know, there's a lot of disinformation. And as, the internet gets even more popular, that's, there's even probably more disinformation out there that's, easily accessible. So that's what you try to avoid.
Just to chime in really quick there, AJ, I agree. And I actually complain about it all the time. Because don't you, Joe? I mean, like, searching YouTube's a pain in the butt.
I hear it all day long. All day long.
It's hard to find anything credible, and it's worse because the thumbnails, they'll show you like something completely unrelated or has nothing to do with.
Well, the problem that I found with with YouTube lately, and it's kind of strange, is you'll see like some of the big names, obviously, Stephen Greer, David Wilcock, Corey Good. Those are like the big names right now in ufology, especially, Wilcock and Good. And I'll notice just, every day there'll be, 10, 15 fake channels just with their pictures on it, and it'll say, Hot 2017, or I don't know if you guys have seen those thumbnails before.
Exactly what I'm talking about, man. Exactly.
And if somebody doesn't know, they're just going to click on, and they're going to get a ton of strange information, disinformation, and whatnot. And it's not going to be, what Stephen Greer or, David Wilcock or Corey Good, that's not the information that they, want to get across. So,
right.
And I don't even mention those three names because they're kind of, they're, probably the three biggest names we're going right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're seeing that a lot, especially on YouTube. Like you said, especially on YouTube. You see so many fake channels, and the more they take down, the more they'll put up.
It's so annoying, and you have to wonder if it's people that just want to get views or if it is indeed part of a disinformation campaign. Because I'll tell you, you'll go, like you said, hot new 2016, 2017, alien UFO documentary, and you click on it, and it's something from 1994 that's been, like upscaled or
like
something.
A pre-2012 video, and everything is, you'll see that a lot, and it's happening more and more. And, it doesn't seem like YouTube is really doing much to stop that problem. And it is a problem if you're into ufology, or you're just starting in ufology and you really don't know.
You don't even know where to go.
And you might have had an experience and you don't know where to go to get more information, and you just might get hit with a boatload of just nonsense.
And that's what happened to me. Luckily, I kind of started researching this a little bit before YouTube. So
Nice.
YouTube became...
That was a long time ago then, really.
Yeah, man. So YouTube became a huge resource for me. And
Sure.
But like you're saying now, it's basically watered down. It's just watered down with, like you said, duplicate accounts, duplicate info. And so we just try to at least warn our... Well, not warn, but, you know, inform our... warn our listeners and our followers, you know... be cautious of those thumbnails, and you may find yourself spending 10 minutes into something that was done back in 2004. So, with that being said, I'm excited about tonight's topic, AJ, because some coin, what's that? David Childress, that's his name, Joe. By the way,
Yep.
There was a few podcasts I couldn't remember his name is David Childress. Okay, and you say he sounds like Mr. Mackey from South.
Yeah.
Childress. David Childress. He's on Ancient Aliens as well.
Childress.
Yeah, we call him Mackey.
Or Mr. Mackey. This is what it reminds us of from South Park. But Roswell, I love talking about Roswell. I could talk about it all day. So, listeners.
Absolutely.
Just so you know, today, or on this podcast this evening, we'll say, we are absolutely going to be discussing Roswell. So if you're a Roswell nut like me, stay on this one. And I think AJ is going to show us some stuff here, or tell us about some stuff that maybe we haven't heard about. So, where did you hear about Roswell? I mean, it's fairly easy to stumble upon now, but back in your heyday, back when you were just kind of first, you know, researching, when did you learn about Roswell? How much have you researched about it? Fill us in.
Roswell's just, you know, I've always thought it stood out. It's always been, you know, the classic, you know, UFO crash, especially in the United States, you know, and that's just another thing that brings people into the, you know, the UFO lore. You know, Roswell, obviously, Roswell and Area 51, especially in the 80s, were, you know, for Area 51 is what really, you know, got the UFO boom going with, you know, John Lear, and then, of course, we know Bob Lazar, you know.
Yes.
That's how, you know, you guys had me with that first Bob Lazar pod. I thought it was fantastic. You know, I'm a big Bob Lazar fan, but we can probably get into a whole nother, you know,
oh, we got to make that. We're going to do that, man. We're going to talk, because that's one of my top, you know, 3 favorite ufology or testimonials, if you will, of all time, and I totally believe him. For one. So,
I mean, just getting back to Roswell, I mean, I just think that whole time period in the 1947 was an extremely odd year. You just look at a small timeline of 1947 and the things that happened in 1947, just very odd. And then you have, you know, the origin of the Air Force started right after the Roswell crash, and you just had all these things going on, and, you know, it was, you know, obviously it was World War II was still heavy in, you know, people's minds, you know, that started in 1939. Right. And, you know, I hate to bring in the whole Nazi thing, because I always feel like, you know, I'm offending people, and obviously that's not what you want to do. But I gotta say, every time I do some research, or I, you know, follow some, you know, some really good researches, like, you know, you guys have heard of, you know, like Peter Lavender or Joseph Farrell. Those guys really get in deep into like that whole Nazi occult, and that whole time period. And I'm kind of fascinated with that time period as well, like the 30s, the 40s. The 50s, because that was really the dawn of the secret space program, you know, and just so many things happened. And Roswell's like this, like, spank right in the middle of all these odd events. Yeah. And there's just, look, I can't say, hey, this is how it is. No one, I don't think anybody can truthfully say, oh, this is exactly what happened. But I gotta say, there's a high probability to that. I mean, that could have been Nazi crafts that crashed, you know, and it would have shook the country up, knowing that it could possibly have been, you know, Nazis that crashed those. I heard about crazy sources that they covered it up with UFOs. But I still believe in UFOs and aliens at the same time.
No, you're right. And the Nazi thing you brought up, I believe that was brought up in a German documentary. I was watching that on YouTube, and they were bringing that same exact point up, that
Sure.
something that the beings were, I don't know if they were children or they were, I don't remember exactly what they said the beings were. Do you recall what that story was?
I mean, there's been a lot of whistleblower testimony saying that the Nazis had help from the Draco, and that's
okay.
That's the whole reptilian myth now. So there's so many different avenues you can go down, and there's so many different, stories that people can tell, and yeah, they could be credible whistleblowers. I mean, we'll never really know how credible a whistleblower's testimony really is, and who knows what the information they're getting it from could be, like you said, watered down a bit,
Oh, yeah. Well, at some point you just realize you're listening.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, AJ, I was just going to jump on, piggyback on that and say that, I forgot what I was going to say. Darn it. Oh, man.
It's all good. It's Friday the 13th.
I know. This is a weird day, everybody. Let me tell you.
It's a weird day. I guess my point was that,
I forgot what I was.
I'm all into the whole gray thing. I love gray aliens. You guys. That's the classic looking alien.
Yes.
The gray alien. That's why my favorite alien movie of all time, and it'll always be, is Close Encounters.
Yes.
Steven Spielberg. There's so much information in that movie. I don't know if you guys, I've seen that movie, 500 times. I own it. I as a kid I watched it, and there's, now that I'm older and I learned some stuff. There's a lot of information in that movie. A lot of people say that maybe Steven Spielberg had some inside information, and they use somebody like a Spielberg as sort of like a tool for maybe drips of disclosure, where if something ever would happen, they kind of prep the public, so to speak.
Like a soft disclosure. And it's interesting.
A soft disclosure, sure.
It's interesting you talk about the Close Encounters movie, because that's actually a movie that I saw as a child, but I didn't get to. I watched it again as an adult after I've done some study and researching stuff, and I totally agree with you. There are things in that movie that jump out to me that I feel like I've heard other people talk about, or I've seen in other places, or I've,
Yeah. The big, claim to fame, so to speak, with Close Encounters, I don't know if you guys heard of Project Serpo?
No, I have not heard of Project Serpo.
That's something you guys should really, really, read about. It's so cool. Essentially, Project Serpo is, again, this is all supposedly, but, we came in contact with, alien beings, and they were called EBENs, EBEs, extraterrestrial biological entities. They call them EBENs that's their nicknames,
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we got along with them, and we had some sort of switch, and we were able to take, it was sort of like a project, and, I guess the number's 12 humans. Who knows if it's 10 or 14, but I guess 12 was the number that they said were able to go back with them to their planet. And I think their planet was Zeta Reticuli. That's, pretty
I believe that
planet way out there. And Project Serpo is a really cool story. And if you watch Close Encounters again, remember the scene where there's 12 at the end? There's 12 people in jumpsuits, and they're in the thing and they're praying. That's the whole Project Serpo story right there in front of you, back, 30 years ago. That's what that is, and it's the same amount of people. It's the whole story. They send them to that whole, that Devil's Peak or whatever it is, in undercover vans that say Twinkies on it or something. And I mean, when I say the movie is to a T as to what supposedly the story is, what happened, but that's a really good,
That sounds like a whole other podcast for sure. We're going to research that.
It could be another podcast. I apologize because we completely go way off Roswell.
No, I love it. No, it's okay. I go off all the time, AJ, so I'm always off track. But can you hear me when I'm talking, by the way?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Sorry if you guys, if you're listening in, if I'm loud. It's our first time ever doing a Skype call with someone and doing an interview this way, so I'm trying to figure it out, so bear with me if I'm being a little bit loud. I do apologize. But AJ, let's turn it back to Roswell, and I want to start. Well, I want to continue with it, but I want to start by asking you some questions on your thoughts.
Sure. Go ahead.
Do you believe it was an extraterrestrial craft that crashed?
At first, and up until maybe a few years ago, absolutely. I believe that there was, probably, two crashes. I think there was a couple of sources. Two of them probably collided in midair. They were going pretty fast, and I think that was the debris field that I think you guys were at with the stone monument. Mm-hmm. And I think there was no sources, no bodies, no nothing left. It was just debris spread out for a pretty large area. And then I think there was another saucer that actually was able to crash, but kind of successfully crash, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like the craft didn't.
It wasn't obliterated into a trillion pieces, right?
And
Hey now.
And that's what I think. Whatever was piloting that craft, that's what they discovered. And I don't know now. I hope that's not a weak answer, but I just really can't. I don't resonate with either side,
Right. And I just give me just a second. I want to elaborate on Roswell a little bit more.
Go ahead.
Because I'm sure you heard Joe and I. We went to a panel. Oh, not a panel actually. It was more of like an intensive or a little workshop with the sons of what they call the sons of Roswell or whatever. But it was the grandchildren of Jesse Marcel, and
that was cool.
It was amazing. And a really interesting comment was made at the end of that, and it has perplexed us ever since. And it was, there has been some new evidence that people will hear about soon, but we're not allowed to talk about it because we're doing X, Y, Z, or we agreed not to talk about it.
Sure.
So that got me really intrigued because they talked about two things. One, they talked about something called the Roswell Diary. And two, they talked about something called the little black box, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I've heard of the little black box.
I tried to research that, man, and I never really was able to really get a definitive opinion either way, of what
Well, there was definitely, and again, I should never say there was definitely, because that's the worst thing to say when you're talking about, ufology, because you can never say definitely.
Of course, yeah. I think,
I've heard,
hey, AJ,
I've heard a few stories where there was
if I give you pause for just a second. Sorry, if I give you pause for just a second. Sorry, man. Just for our listeners, let's just say that they are real for now, just to spare AJ from having to, go back and make sure that everybody knows he's speaking hypothetically. So,
yes.
So now you can go ahead and continue, man. Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead. Go on.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. I did hear that there was definitely technology recovered from the Roswell crash, and that technology helped us to get things that we have today, fiber optics, microwaves, things like that, and the black box was definitely something. I don't know what it is or if it was true, but I've actually heard of that story that about the black box. So that did ring a bell when you mentioned that.
Yeah.
The diary I'm not sure of, but
I did a little bit of research on the diary, and the diary belonged to the father of the witness that saw the beings outside the crashed vehicle.
Gotcha.
And he kept a journal or a diary of some kind, and make myself laugh. But the black box thing, I cannot wrap my head around. Is there supposed to be something in it? Was there, why, what that could have been? And I couldn't figure out either way by researching. So
yeah, the only thing I got out of it was technology, and it was some kind of technology. I don't know if it had to do with their propulsion or if it just was, something else. And that's just what I got out of it. And it wasn't really something that was, talked about a lot, but I got out of it that it was, technology of some kind had to do with that. That's what we took it as.
All right. And,
So,
the 70th anniversary is coming up.
yeah, that's very cool.
It's very cool, very exciting. And Nick Pope is in league with the paper there in Roswell to put this event on that's coming this July, I believe, in Roswell. And Nick Pope keeps hinting at the possibility of, that something will be disclosed, something never before heard of or seen is going to be disclosed within the coming months. And I wanted to get, as a longtime ufologist, I would love to get your thoughts on that.
So, something that's going to get disclosed that's Roswell related, correct?
Yeah,
that's what he's saying.
Yeah, that's supposedly such a bombshell that it will, basically solve the mystery or whatever. And I'm wondering what that could possibly be. I'm wondering if we're all going to find out that it was a damn weather balloon, or if we're, or a Russian technology or something like that. Damn it! I want to hear that it's ETs, man. But what's your thoughts?
I do too. I definitely would. I think that's, but I don't think we'll ever get the true answer. And I find it hard to believe that something now after all these years would be disclosed. It just would. It's hard for me to, could it happen? Sure, but I don't know. I can't see what could possibly come out now.
The only thing
with Roswell related, everything right now, the big thing with disclosure and what everybody's talking about is Antarctica. That's what everybody's focus is on right now, is Antarctica and what's underneath the ice. And something, if anything big is coming out, it's going to be something definitely. I don't think anything's going to happen anytime soon, to be quite honest. But I think if anything was happening, I think you're going to see definitely Antarctica over Roswell.
Okay, I was going to say, are you speaking about Roswell specifically, or just the whole ufology world?
I could speak of the whole world.
Okay.
I think that Antarctica is right now, that's what everybody's talking about and concentrating on, and there's just, seems to be just some weird, shenanigans going on in Antarctica. I don't know. I mean, it just seems strange, but everybody's been focusing on. So. Right.
Well, we're going to have to check that out. I'm telling you, we're getting some good ideas from you, man, and we'll have to have you back again. We're going to take just a quick pause, if that's okay with you. And we're going to come back to chatting about Roswell. And I'm going to put Joe back on the mic here for just a minute, because we're going to just do some social media shout-outs. And we're going to start by, if you can take us through onto Twitter, Joe. Actually, I'll go on to Twitter. Fine.
I'll go on Instagram, because
you don't have to do anything, because you haven't been doing
anything. Yeah, I'll be right back in 2 seconds.
Go for it. Go. Yes. No worries. So, for those of you that are... Wait, hold on. People don't tune in. They listen from the beginning. What am I talking about? But anyway, just to remind you guys, we're with our friend AJ chatting about Roswell and all kinds of crazy stuff. Lob_bizarre.
Yes. On all things media.
Real quick, going on Twitter, we've got a whole bunch of new followers, Joe, and somebody who has been very active is at Master Mastaba. I think I'm not really entirely certain how to pronounce that. And I'm really having a good time chatting with people, and I think a lot of people were pretty shocked to hear that we were blocked by Dr. Greer. And so I always love the Alien Addict. Always cracks me up. So thank you again for
getting on board.
Always retweeting and Carla, of course, thank you. And AJ, who we're on with now, we're gonna give him a shout out anyway.
I'm right here.
Big Daddy Papa 2.0.
Yes.
Wayne Hatton, Blonde Hatton.
And we're gonna. Do you have if you could log into our Instagram?
Yeah,
that'd be great. Go ahead and do that. Because I don't have it on my iPad, okay? They don't make it...
I am on there. I'm on it right now.
Oh, okay. Good.
Guess the shout-outs are from.
Well, all right. We'll do a shout-out.
The Sting... I just did the Distinguisher.
Oh, okay. And action.
Jeez.
Talk.
I have
Talk.
Talking underscore tree. Jerry Bear 65.
Oh my goodness. Jerry Bear.
Mandy Moonraker.
Mandy Moonraker.
Yeah.
You got
Get a
anybody
few
else?
shout-outs. That's it.
Are you sure there isn't anybody else on there that you want to? No. Okay. Maybe we'll come back to that. But we've been getting a lot of great social media interaction. The only thing I will ask everybody to is make sure you check out our Patreon page, because we do post things on there that
only people that are patrons can see.
Exactly. So you can starts at $1 to contribute towards helping us continue to bring out the truth and being able to connect with somebody like AJ, who has
and get blocked by people.
This great information, and to be blocked by the father of ufology in less than 3 months. High five, bro. I don't know how the hell we did it, but we did it. We're kind of famous now. Nobody has recognized me yet, though. But, you know.
One day.
One day. Moving on. We're going to come back to AJ, yeah? How's that sound? But don't forget Patreon. www.patreon, and that's spelled patreon.com/UFOBROSTV. And we're back here. Now, I have a question for you, AJ, about the debris. Did you...
Yes.
I'm sure, like me, you've probably, read the same crap over and over in multiple blogs or whatever about the I-beams specifically.
Okay, yep.
I am on the fence a little bit as to how credible I guess what we're being told now is, only because I've heard so many different testimonials about it, and I've read upteenth amount of, eyewitness accounts of said I-beam. Some people said it was wood-like. Some people said it was metallic-like. Some people said it was of a bakelite material.
In that era.
In that area. They don't really know.
Gotcha. Sure.
And, that within the beam there were strange symbols that nobody knew what they were. What are your thoughts? What have you found? Because I'm still a little bit on the fence on being able to put my finger on what I think it is. I know something weird was there, but I know how the game telephone works. And add that on for 70 years or whatever, and...
that's the thing. You just really don't know. That's why it's always good to try to get a perspective from as many sources as possible. Now you guys were physically there, so that's the best thing to do. And you're physically talking to people that down the line were descendants or new people. So I would find that to be a little more credible than, watching a YouTube video that from somebody I have no idea, who they are, But that's so true. I mean, it's been so far removed now that, it'd be very difficult to know exactly, someone could describe the symbols or whatnot. It'd be very difficult without any substantial, proof what it was.
Absolutely. Have you heard about the symbols and the possibility that it might have been actually a piece of tape, a long piece of tape taped to the I-beam from a toy manufacturing company, and that these I've heard two separate theories, that the tape was one used to just hold the pieces together, and that there was a tape that had symbols on it specifically for weather balloons. But then I heard that there was a tape manufactured by a toy company that they used to put it together. And so, if you look at the symbols or the recounting of the symbols, they sort of do look very, I guess you could say, cards, poker card, cards, just regular card deck of cards with, hearts and spades and clubs. It looks kind of like that. And what's your take on that? Do you think it was an alien language, or do you think that there's definitely something?
I do. That's a good point to it. Like kind of like cards, like symbols of like what's on playing cards. That's kind of I haven't seen the pictures in a while, but you know what? I remember kind of thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I mean, it could be, possibly alien language of some kind, but again, I'm leaning more towards that possibly not, E.T. Unfortunately, I mean that's the thing there.
Wouldn't that be a bummer, folks, if we find out that Roswell was, just something simple? That would suck.
Well, the problem too is you can't. Again, we could talk about Roswell for hours and hours, but in the big picture, and I always mention the timeline of that period. If you took a few events and put them in order of timeline, 4 or 5 events, and Roswell stuck in the middle, and you knew all those events, you would be like, okay, well, maybe it wasn't E.T. Maybe it was something going on with, the Nazis and, anti-gravity propulsion. And, right after Roswell, you had you guys heard of, Operation High Jump?
Yes.
Okay, then that was a pretty cool story as well with, Admiral Byrd and, taking this, this huge fleet, going to Antarctica, and some of the things, though, again, we're taking witnesses and whistleblowers' testimonies on what we speak about, and that happened around 1947, I believe, too. It was right around that same time frame, and I'm sure you guys heard the stories that they came encounters with UFOs that rose out of the waters of Antarctica, and there was Nazi fleets, and they basically got their, asses kicked, in so many words, and they sailed back to, North America with their tail between their legs, But I mean, the stories of that goes even further. How the Admiral Byrd, is in a plane and he flies over the Antarctica, and now we could be getting into inner Earth beings, and you know what I mean. And he tells the story of seeing the inner Earth in Antarctica, and the temperature is like 70 degrees, and there's land and grass, trees, and all sorts of plant life and animal life and beings that live inside the Earth. Oh yes,
yes, the Earth beings.
And again, I think if you took the timeline, if you started from 1939 around World War II, and right around World War II, you started having the weird Foo Fighter things, and ufology kind of kicked off right around then. I feel that's when I feel. I mean, again, you probably can go to the beginning of time, and I'm sure ET's probably been around this whole time, obviously. But I think for modern day ufology and what we talk about and what's interesting is, I think right around that World War II period is when things kind of started getting a little different phenomenon, and you have obviously the Foo Fighters with the pilots saw, and the Nazis were testing out the Bell, the Glock, that was an anti-gravity,
the Nazi Bell,
testing thing that they were working on, and they had all sorts of odd craft, and then you have Roswell in 1947. You have the start of the Air Force. You have Operation High Jump in 1947. You even have the Battle of LA in 1942. You guys have heard of that?
That one's very much not talked about actually enough. We should really talk and discuss that, because that one there is actually a existing photograph.
absolutely. That was in 1942.
Yes. You know? It's amazing, then, but it's almost so amazing. It's like, I can't even describe it, but we're definitely going to check into that. Yeah, see, chatting with you just reminds me of so many of the things we got to be looking into.
You know, and that's what I'm thinking. Like when you just only talk about Roswell and you don't look at that whole era, it's you want to automatically go gray alien UFO. We shot them down with some direct energy or radio weapon that we had maybe just out of self-defense, they, could have been messing with our Air Force. And we shot some down, we tried to save a few of them. We got some technology out of it. And that brings back the whole Close Encounters and Project Servo story, that if you believe that's what they say happened. And out of that whole incident, when the alien got rescued or whatnot, we were able to take 12 humans back with them, and they lived on another planet for, so many years, 10, 12 years. There's a whole story around that. But I just think if you take the whole events around that time period and you put them, in a timeline.
Yes.
And you look it over, even you have in 1952, you have that famous incident where UFOs flew over the White House.
Yes. Yes.
And again, whistleblower testimony, a lot of people say that was the Nazis again, where, the war was over and they were kind of bribing us to make some sort of agreement. And I mean, in 1958, NASA started, and the whole, Werner von Braun, and how, the paperclip operation, and we took some Nazi scientists, some of the good ones. Russia took some Nazi scientists, and there was a race to get to the moon.
Right.
I could probably talk more about the public space program.
Yeah.
But I guess, I know I'm probably rambling, but my whole point was that if you take the whole time frame in perspective and you look at key specific dates and events, you can't rule out the fact that it might have possibly been crazy Nazis, and just it would have been so astonishing to hear that the public probably couldn't have handled that more than if it was E.T., because you gotta get in the mindset of World War II was just ended. Hitler wanted to blow up all of us and England, so I think the public was, still afraid of that.
No, I agree with you.
Right.
I'm on the same page, and here we go down the rabbit hole. Here
we go.
Yeah, it goes and
let's
goes.
Go.
Well, and then it all is so seamlessly connected, but all seemingly so far apart. When you start placing everything together, and that's the struggle. And then you try to research that, and you can only find scraps, bits, pieces, but nothing definitive. And I'm hoping that whatever it is, or whatever Roswell was, because I can tell you, Dro, that the leading ufologists seem to understand that it was not a disc, but instead more of a winged-shaped disc-looking thing where there was like fins. So that seems to me to be more of like an earthly sounding looking sort of thing, which kind of maybe ties into what AJ's talking about. But I think the more that I research this, the more there seems to be people who've seen it or heard about it, and the stories get a little bit crazy. Like in my opinion, the nurse who said to have witnessed, an ET. Said that there were suction cups on the fingers, and
little suction cups.
Yeah, I just think that I don't know about suction cups. I mean, seems to me to be so Hollywood.
Wait, what year was that you said?
That was in 47.
Was the suction cup invented in 47?
I don't know.
Well, we looked that up.
But it's been like, when was the suction cup invented? Maybe we learned the suction cups from the fingertips of alien beings. Maybe suction cups are alien technology of some kind. No? Okay. We're really enjoying AJ, and I hope you guys are too. So if you are listening, whether you're in your car or you're at work or whatever you're doing, by all means, hop on social media. We are at all things at UFOBROSTV. That includes Facebook. That includes Instagram, Twitter. However, Twitter, it's a 0, UF0BROSTV.
You complete 0.
And that's the whole story. They locked us out of our original account. But anyway. And also, make sure you subscribe on YouTube. And from there, you can pretty much access all of our links, too, if you go to our YouTube page. So, and AJ, we are working on a new website. This is
awesome.
True. So, We're hoping maybe to get our logo on a T-shirt or something. That would be so cool, right?
Wow. Little.
Oh, I'd buy one.
All right. That's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty sweet.
That'd be so cool.
Just for a little side note, we were talking about suction cups. It was invented 1866 was the patent pending on it. So,
Okay, well, bummer. So it looks like we didn't get suction cups from alien technology. That's okay.
No, I would probably lean towards ET with that crash, only because if you do want to talk about technology, and I think.
Oh, have you heard
so many stories about
Have you heard the one about time
with
travelers?
that crash?
Have you heard the one about time travelers, AJ?
That's Roswell related, or possibly that it could be possibly humans that are coming back from the future because they have something wrong with their genetics and they need our help to make them keep going, something like that.
Yeah,
yes.
and there's a
I heard that.
Yeah.
Not so much with Roswell, but that's popular, and I think that happens as well. I think everything is all of the above. I think that we probably do have, humans from the future coming back down and probably visiting us. Hell, if they have the technology, why not?
Right.
I don't think we understand time when it relates to space because we're not up there. But I think if time and space is the same, and you can do things like travel faster than the speed of light, then time travel probably isn't that big of a deal because it's just
that's almost
seems more normal.
That's almost a byproduct of. That's almost
Yeah.
a byproduct of being able to manipulate gravity.
Absolutely.
Is the fact that you
Absolutely,
can in time
it
space.
is, and there's no future or past probably up there. It's probably all present, and you're right. I mean, you're manipulating gravity, and you're doing things that our science just doesn't understand yet. We haven't figured it out. But yeah, I think that I don't know if it was the Roswell crash that were time travelers, but I definitely think that that's absolutely popular. Then you have three dimensional beings just like us, but probably live on other planets that are probably coming by because they've mastered anti-gravity. Sure,
We're gonna have to get into that one another podcast because we're just at about 2.5 minutes here, and I wanted to just real quick kind of touch base back on the Roswell about this so-called solving of the mystery. I just can't seem to get it off my head. It seems to be like, for one, when we did speak with the grandchildren of Jesse Marcel, there was such a confidence in what they were saying that whatever's coming out seems to be pretty definitive, I think. And we hope for that because the stories are crazy. There's the stories about, like you said, the time travelers. And then the gentleman that came up with that theory believes that he was the one that's supposed to design that craft and send it back in time. And so the stories do get pretty crazy. And
Sure.
I'm gonna give you 30 seconds, man. I want to let you just talk, say whatever you like, anything you want to chat about. Go for it, man.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun tonight. I think you guys are great. We could talk about Roswell for the whole night.
Heck yeah, man.
It's such just so many good topics, and I think I would definitely we what we do know is obviously something happened. There was a crash of some kind. That's something definitely we can truly say yes, that truly did happen. I think everything else is probably just speculation, what you're leaning towards, and because due to the whole technology aspect of it and that whole Project Serpo story that you guys definitely should check out. I would definitely lean more towards, gray alien ET beings, EBEs, Ebens.
Agree. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Man, I'm delighted to have you on again. We both are. I think you're just...
this is great. I hope
this is great.
Sound stupid or rambling.
No, the best thing to do is just be yourself.
An iPad speaker, so it's a little odd.
Yeah, and sorry if it sounds like I was over talking you. It'll probably sound like that, but I think we got to fix, obviously, our guests being able to hear us a little better.
Absolutely.
So, well, thank you guys for listening. We're gonna go ahead and end it here. I'm Emmett,
Joe,
and
AJ.
And AJ, and we are the UFO Bros. Thanks, guys. We'll chat with you.
Good night.